Today's session will be about the organization of the nervous system in vertebrates as well as invertebrates. So we will start by differentiating between these two types of organisms. You can see in this figure 5 different living organisms: the grasshopper, the dolphin, the dog, the crab, and the goose. And we want to classify these organisms as either vertebrates or invertebrates in order to study their nervous system later on. So we have performed an X-ray in order to be able to detect which of these organisms have an internal skeleton of bones characterized by the presence of a vertebral column. So if you examine the results attentively, you will be able to see that these 3 organisms, the dolphin, the dog, and the goose, have internal skeleton of bones, and you can see clearly the vertebral column for each one of these organisms, and the same for the dog. So we classify these organisms as vertebrates. However, the grasshopper and the crab do not have a vertebral column, and any organism without a vertebral column will be classified as invertebrate. Now we are going to start with activity 1 of chapter 4 in order to study the organization of the nervous system in the vertebrates. Of course, we humans are classified as vertebrates because we have an internal skeleton of bones characterized by the presence of a vertebral column. So we will watch a short video showing the different parts of the nervous system within the human body, and this would apply to any other vertebrate.
The nervous system is the control center of the human body. It is highly sophisticated, enabling the body to perceive, interpret, and respond to changes in its environment, while also facilitating cognitive processes such as learning, memory, and language. The nervous system controls voluntary processes, including the action of skeletal muscles, and involuntary processes, including circulation, respiration, and digestion. The nervous system can be divided both structurally and functionally. Structurally, the nervous system can be divided into the central and peripheral nervous systems. The central nervous system, CNS, comprises the brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system, PNS, comprises all the nervous structures outside the CNS. The peripheral nervous system includes the cranial nerves, spinal nerves,
To summarize what you have seen in the video, we can say that the nervous system is divided into two divisions: the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system includes the nerve centers, which are the brain and the spinal cord in the case of vertebrates, and these two nerve centers are responsible for analysis and integration. And of course, they are protected by bones, such that the brain is protected by the skull and the spinal cord is protected by the vertebral column. The peripheral nervous system consists of nerves which are responsible for conducting nerve messages to the central nervous system as well as from the central nervous system. You have two types of nerves. You have the cranial nerves, which originate from the brain, and the spinal nerves, which originate from the spinal cord. You can see in this figure the central nervous system, which is the brain and the spinal cord located within the center of the body, and then you have the different nerves which transmit nerve messages. In the other figure, you can see the spinal cord, which is protected by the vertebral column, and this is a very small part of it. And of course, in real life, the spinal cord is not yellow in color, it is white. Now let us locate the nerve centers, mainly the spinal cord, within the body of vertebrates. So these are two examples, the dog and the human, and you can see that the spinal cord is located at the dorsal side, which is the back side of the body. Now this is a figure taken from your book, which shows you the different parts of the brain. Of course you have more than these, but these are the main ones that you are going to study. So you can see in the figure that the central nervous system, which includes the brain, and the brain can be divided into three different main parts. You have the cerebrum, you have the cerebellum, and then you have the medulla oblongata. So in order to see it better, you have this figure. So we are looking at the brain from the front side, and you can see that the cerebrum consists of two hemispheres. So we consider this shape a sphere, and this is half a sphere, so we say hemisphere. So the cerebrum is divided into two hemispheres, and then you have the cerebellum, which is also of two hemispheres, and then you have the medulla oblongata, which is at the back of the brain, which is the last part before the spinal cord. The cerebrum is responsible for learning, for intelligence, for memory, for all the voluntary processes. The cerebellum is mainly responsible for coordination between different body organs as well as balance, and the medulla oblongata, it is considered as a reflex center that can control heart rate, it can control respiration rate, as well as salivation. This is another figure showing you the spinal cord, which is found within the vertebral column. So you have to differentiate that the spinal cord is a part of the nervous system, while the vertebral column is not a part of the nervous system. It is only the bone which protects the spinal cord, and then of course you have the nerves originating from the spinal cord, and they transmit messages to different parts of the body. Also to remind you that the nerve centers in the vertebrates are located at the dorsal side. This is another figure also shown in your book. You can see that they have dissected, actually they have sacrificed now that we have seen the organization of the nervous system in the invertebrates, we will take a look at the nervous system of invertebrates. So we will start by watching a video about the nervous system of a grasshopper, but of course all invertebrates would have a similar nervous system.
To understand how insecticides disrupt nervous functions, let us examine how the nervous system is organized and its significance for an animal. The role of the animal nervous system is to detect and collect information through the sensory systems of vision, sound, touch, taste, and smell, and to use this information to integrate the animal's functions and behavior for survival and reproduction. Let us now look at the structure and function of the insect central nervous system. The central nervous system consists of a brain and a nerve cord on the ventral side of the insect body. A ganglion is a thickening of the nervous system where the cell bodies of the nerve cells are located. The ventral nerve cord consists of a series of ganglia. The ganglia are interconnected by paired nerves.
So we have seen in the video that similar to vertebrates, the invertebrates have their nervous system divided into two parts: the central nervous system, including nerve centers, and the peripheral nervous system, including nerves for conducting nerve messages. But the main difference is the nerve centers. You can see that in the case of invertebrates, the nerve centers consist of ganglia, meaning you have these structures. Each one of them is known as ganglion, but collectively we call them ganglia. They are connected, forming a ventral nerve cord because it is located at the ventral side. And in the case of invertebrate, each ganglion is considered as a small brain, which is able to control a specific segment or part of the body of the invertebrate. So if we want to differentiate between the nervous system of vertebrates and that of invertebrates, we can say that vertebrates have nerve centers consisting of the brain and the spinal cord, and the brain is the one able to control all the body, while in the case of invertebrates we have ganglia. Even though the largest ganglion is known as the brain, but it is not similar to the brain of vertebrates because it is not able to control the whole body. So each ganglion will be able to control only a segment or a part of the body of the invertebrate. And of course, another difference is the location. So we have seen that the nerve centers are located dorsally in the vertebrates, while in the invertebrates they are located ventrally, at the ventral side. So this is another figure showing you the shrimp, which is also considered as an invertebrate. This figure is taken from your textbook and I have added this one. So you can see that at the ventral side you have the ventral nerve cord consisting of a chain of ganglia which are connected, and then you have the different nerves originating from these ganglia for conducting messages. The question arises, do ganglia constitute a part of the nervous system of invertebrates only? Meaning, can't we find ganglia in vertebrates? So in order to answer these two questions, I have shown you this figure which is representing the nervous system of a human, and of course human beings are vertebrates. If you examine this figure, you will be able to see these structures, and each one of them is known as a ganglia. So what I want to tell you is that ganglia are found in both invertebrates and vertebrates, but they are not the same. The ganglia in the case of invertebrates are considered nerve centers. They are a part of the central nervous system responsible for integrating nerve messages, for issuing motor messages. So these are nerve centers. However, in the case of vertebrates, these ganglia are actually, as you can see in this figure, they are a part of the peripheral nervous system, and we are going to see this structure in later sessions in more details. Now, as a summary, we are going to look at the similarities and the differences between the organization of the nervous system in vertebrates and invertebrates. So the similarities would include that the nervous system of both consists of central nervous system, which include the nerve centers responsible for receiving and integrating sensory nerve messages as well as issuing adequate motor messages. And you have the peripheral nervous system, which consists of nerves responsible for conducting nerve messages to the central nervous system as well as away from the central nervous system. Now I want you to think about the differences and to pause the video and try to answer them. As we have said earlier, this would be the answer showing the differences. So we say that the nerve centers in the vertebrates are the brain and spinal cord, while in the case of invertebrates we have chain of ganglia. Moreover, the central nervous system is located dorsally in vertebrates but ventrally in invertebrates. The session is almost over, so please I want you to pause the video and to read this question attentively and try to solve it. I'm asking you in this question to draw a concept map showing the nerve message transmission pathway in the case of a shrimp that exhibited a flight reaction, meaning the shrimp had run away upon facing danger. Of course, if you find it difficult to draw such a concept map, you can always refer to session 1. We have explained it in details. So after pausing the video and writing your answer, we are going to correct it. Of course, before drawing the concept map, you would have to think about the different events that are taking place, and of course these events would involve the nervous system. So the shrimp detected the danger. The danger is the stimulus, which was detected by the receptor organs, which are the antenna. This resulted in the generation of a sensory nerve message, which was conducted along the nerves to the nerve center. And since the shrimp is an invertebrate, the nerve centers would consist of ganglia. And as a result, a motor message would be generated and then would be conducted to adequate body muscles, which are the effector organs, and the functioning of these body muscles would lead to a flight reaction. So the concept map that you draw should look like this. Of course, do not forget the title as well as the legend so that anyone would understand what you are drawing. See you next time.